I'm Jennifer Deagle, author of From Hope to Joy, a memoir of a mother's determination and her micro-preemie struggle to beat the odds. And I'm going to read a passage from my book. Waiting for days, weeks, or even months before holding your baby for the first time can be terribly frustrating, and it's a feeling of anxious anticipation that luckily only a small percentage of new mothers have to experience. Under normal circumstances, newborns are in their mother's arms within minutes of birth, and I had to wait a full month. Every once in a while, I would get to stick my freshly sanitized finger inside the isolette for a few moments. And those brief encounters helped to ease my burning need to hold and bond with my new baby. Still, it wasn't enough. For the previous 3 nights, in anticipation of kangarooing, I'd been showering for the second time in a day before leaving the house to see Joy in the evening. I also wore a button-down shirt. Finally, when Joy was 33 days old, Colby, a night nurse we came to love, popped a magical question. Do you want a kangaroo? These simple words were music to my ears. Of course I do, I replied. Although it only lasted about 10 minutes, the kangarooing experience was almost beyond description. This remarkable bonding moment finally allowed my mothering instincts to get to work, calming and snuggling my baby. I got to feel both her heartbeat and her breathing for the first time. John was there to record the moment, and he got to experience this wondrous feeling himself a few days later. Colby was amazing. She made it seem like holding your baby on your chest, tucked into your shirt, with tubes and wires attached to her, and machines beeping like crazy, was a natural thing. Nothing could have wiped the smile off my face.
Hi, my name is Vicki Foreman. I'm the author of This Lovely Life, a memoir of premature motherhood. After the doctors left, I forced myself out of bed. I still wore my hospital gown, felt sick and sore, and had barely slept. Even so, I pushed aside the breakfast tray, put on the yellow hospital socks I'd been given the night before, and went to see my twins. In my first glimpse of my son, he lay in an open bed directly across from the front door of Special Nursery A. The bandages and cotton dressings that surrounded him glowed larger than his body. Bilirubin lights hovered over his incubator. Gauze pads protected his eyes from that same light. I soaked it all in, the tubes, the lines, the IVs. His tiny chest vibrated from the high-frequency ventilator that rumbled beside him. His skin was dark, translucent, muscles and tendons visible beneath. There was an IV line stuck into his small forehead, and no fewer than a dozen syringes filled his bed, connected with medical tubing to various parts of his body, dispensing fluids in shades of red, yellow, white. Overhead, 3 monitors displayed his stats in spikes and graphs, wavy green, jittering blue, loping red. Here it was then, physical proof. My babies had been born. They were hooked up to machines, getting blood transfusions, being kept alive. There was no rewinding the clock, no going back. Around me, the unit bustled with nurses and doctors. Alarms sounded, machines vibrated and hummed. I asked about Ellie. Shouldn't she be next to him? Shouldn't they be together?
Hi, I'm Deanna Fay, and I'll be reading a passage from my book, Girl in Glass. By the time I reach my daughter's isolette, I'm desperate to see her. No matter what I've told myself to get through the night, the love wells up of its own accord, though it is always accompanied by fear. If there's only good news, the fear might be only a hum, the same volume as the gurgling of the ventilator, the intermittent beeping of the machines. In moments, I can focus on her the way any mother focuses on a new baby. The little ski jump of her nose, the way her eyes twitch beneath her eyelids when they're closed, the gleam of her eyes when they open, each delicate brushstroke of hair. I let her hand encircle my finger. I caress the soles of her feet. The rest of her is too fragile to touch. I see her yawn, the most wondrous movement on earth. Her eyes seem to turn in my direction. She seems to recognize my voice. Then a voice in my head hisses, "Don't get too attached." The experience of admiring her, the parts of her that aren't completely obscured by medical devices, is also the saddest feeling in the world. She would have been beautiful, I think. She would have been perfect. Then I castigate myself. How can I mourn my own daughter who lies before me, struggling to live? Even on the good days, it's never long before the calm breaks. Sometimes she desats. The level of oxygen saturation in her blood, which should hover above 95%, plummets to 85, then 70, then lower, while a red light flashes and the alarm beeps faster and louder. Touch and go. This is a phrase that someone has probably said out loud to us in the last few days. A phrase that never struck me as quite literal until now. I arrive with murmurs of comfort, but within minutes, I've run out of words. I sing a lullaby through her porthole, hoarse and barely audible above the machines, until the song starts to sound like a dirge. I tell myself not to make too much of her grasp on my finger. It's only a reflex after all. The truth is, each time I visit my daughter, it feels like a return to the scene of the disaster. If my first days with my son were spent celebrating new life, this is communing with death, its constant proximity, its heavy shadow. There is no life without death, this I know. But the arrival of a new baby is generally an occasion when the separation between the two realms might be contemplated as a wide river, a rolling plain, the stretch of decades, not the unplugging of machines in less than 1 hour. The only way to brave this limbo is simply to bear witness. To bear witness is to know her as she is, no more and no less. To know her is to love her because she is mine, because I am her mother. The more I love her, the harder it gets.